My 30th birthday was approaching, and I had simple plans. Marissa and I had been married for 4 years, and I thought we would celebrate together. Maybe dinner at our favorite Italian place downtown. Nothing extravagant. But Marissa seemed distracted those past few weeks. She worked in marketing and was often busy, so I did not think much of it. I trusted her completely. Then, 5 days before my birthday, she told me about a mandatory work retreat that weekend. My heart sank, but I understood. She apologized and promised we would celebrate later. I smiled and told her it was fine. I had no idea what was coming. Before I continue, I want to ask where you are watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted with everything you had, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss what happens next. Because what I discovered 3 days after my birthday shattered everything I thought I knew about my marriage and my family. Now let me tell you exactly what happened. Saturday morning I woke up alone. Marissa had left at 6 a.m., and by the time I opened my eyes there was already a text waiting. She said she arrived safely at the retreat center upstate. The house felt enormous and empty. I made coffee in our kitchen, listening to the silence echo off the walls. I tried to stay positive, telling myself it was just one weekend. My parents called around 9 to wish me happy birthday. My mom asked where Marissa was, and I heard the disappointment in her voice when I explained about the work retreat. My sister Laura texted asking if I wanted company. I declined and said I was fine, even though I was not sure I believed it myself. I spent the day doing mundane tasks, laundry, grocery shopping. I even cleaned out the garage, something I had been putting off for months. Anything to keep my mind occupied. By evening, I ordered a pizza and sat alone on the couch, flipping through channels without really watching anything. There was a birthday cake from the bakery sitting on the kitchen counter, still in its box. I could not bring myself to open it. Marissa called briefly around 8 p.m. She sounded rushed, distracted. Said the retreat schedule was packed and she had to go. But I heard something in the background that did not sit right with me. Laughter, music. It did not sound like a work event. When I asked about it, she said other team members were having dinner and she really had to go. The call ended abruptly. I sat there for a long time after she hung up, staring at my phone. Something felt wrong, but I pushed the feeling away. I told myself to stop being paranoid, to trust my wife. Sunday was more of the same. Emptiness. Silence. Marissa barely responded to my texts. Each hour that passed, the knot in my stomach grew tighter, but I kept telling myself everything was fine. Monday afternoon, Marissa came home around 4 p.m. The first thing I noticed was how she looked. Refreshed, tanned, relaxed in a way I had not seen in months. I mentioned it, trying to sound casual, and she brushed me off quickly. Changed the subject immediately when I asked about the retreat details. She said it was boring, just standard team-building exercises, and she wanted to forget about work. Something about her tone felt rehearsed. Tuesday morning, everything changed. I was looking for my wallet to pay for a dry cleaning delivery. I found it in an unusual spot tucked in the kitchen drawer instead of on my nightstand where I always kept it. When I opened it, I noticed immediately that something was missing. My grandmother had sent me $200 in a birthday card last week. I specifically remembered tucking those bills into my wallet on Thursday night, being grateful for her thoughtfulness. Now the money was gone. All my cards were there. Everything else was intact, but those bills had vanished. Confused, I walked into the living room where Marissa was getting ready for work. I asked if she had seen the money. Her reaction was immediate and intense. She became defensive, accusing me of implying she had taken it. I backtracked quickly, saying maybe I misplaced it somewhere, but I knew I had not. What struck me was how strong her reaction was, how quick. Like she had been preparing for this question. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message was short and direct. "You deserve to know the truth about your wife and your sister." My hands went cold. Attached to the message was a photo, and when I opened it, my entire world tilted sideways. It was Marissa and Laura, my wife and my younger sister. They were at what looked like an upscale spa resort, both wearing matching white robes. They were holding champagne glasses, laughing at something off camera. The photo was dated Saturday, my birthday. The timestamp read 11:30 a.m., right around the time I had been folding laundry alone in our house. I stared at that photo for 10 minutes straight, maybe longer. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The room seemed to spin around me and I felt physically sick. Laura was my younger sister, 26 years old. We had always been close. When Marissa and I got married, she treated Laura like a real sister. I thought they had a good relationship. Laura had been going through a rough breakup for the past 6 months, and I knew she was struggling. Marissa and I had her over for dinner multiple times. We supported her. We cared about her. Now looking at this photo, their body language told a completely different story. They were not sitting like sisters having a bonding weekend. They were too comfortable with each other, too intimate. The expensive robes meant this was a luxury resort. The champagne meant they were celebrating something. And my birthday money, exactly $200, was probably enough for a weekend spa package for 2 people. The pieces started falling into place with sickening clarity. Marissa had planned this. She used my money. She lied about a work retreat, and she took my sister instead of celebrating my birthday with me. I felt like I was drowning. The emotions came in waves. Confusion gave way to hurt, which crashed into anger, then dissolved into devastation. I called the number back. It went straight to voicemail with no name. I took a screenshot of the photo, my thumb hovering over a text to Marissa. But something stopped me. I needed more information. I needed to understand the full scope of what was happening. I logged into our credit card account. We had a joint account, so I had every right to check it. I scrolled through recent charges, and each one felt like another punch to the gut. Serenity Springs Resort and Spa, $450. Posted on Saturday. I looked up the resort online. It was advertised as a romantic couples getaway, known for honeymoon packages. The website showed amenities like couples, massages, private hot tubs, and candlelit dinners. My stomach dropped even further when I kept scrolling. There was a charge from Friday night at a fancy restaurant, $200. A wine store, $80. A designer boutique, $300. All charges from the weekend I spent alone eating cold pizza and wondering why my wife sounded so distant on the phone. I started second-guessing everything. Our marriage. The past 4 years. Who Marissa really was. Small things I had dismissed before suddenly seemed significant. Whispered phone calls she would take in another room. Texts. She would tilt her phone away from me to read. Marissa and Laura had been spending an unusual amount of time together the past 2 months. Girls' nights out that went very late. Weekend trips I was not invited to. I had thought nothing of it because I trusted them both completely. Now every memory felt contaminated. Every smile seemed fake. Every I love you felt like a lie. I sat on the floor of our bedroom surrounded by evidence of betrayal and felt like a stranger in my own life. Part of me wanted desperately to believe there was an innocent explanation, but the larger part, the part that was looking at hard evidence and cold facts, knew the truth was worse than I could have imagined. Wednesday evening, I decided I had to confront her. I could not keep this inside anymore. Marissa came home from work around 6:30, her usual time. I waited until after dinner because I needed to control my emotions. I needed to hear her explanation before I completely fell apart. Around 8 p.m., we were sitting in the living room. She was scrolling through her phone, completely relaxed. I pulled out my phone, opened the photo, and held it out to her without saying a word. I watched her face carefully, looking for genuine surprise or guilt or shock. Instead, I saw a flash of annoyance, then something calculating in her eyes. She did not deny it. She did not ask where I got the photo. That told me everything. I asked her to explain. My voice was steady, but inside I was screaming. Marissa sighed, like I was inconveniencing her, like I had asked her to explain something trivial. She said yes, she took Laura to the spa resort for the weekend. She said it casually, the way someone might mention they went to the grocery store. No shame. No remorse. I asked why. Why lie to me? Why on my birthday? Why use my money? She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes at me. She said Laura needed a break after her breakup and I would not understand what she was going through. I pointed out that it was my birthday, my money from my grandmother. She had lied about a work retreat. Marissa shrugged and said my birthday was not that important. I was turning 30, not a milestone. The coldness in her voice made me feel like I was sitting across from a stranger. I asked the question I was terrified to ask. Why, Laura? Why a romantic spa resort? What exactly was going on between them? Marissa's expression changed. Something cruel flickered across her face, and then she started laughing. Not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable laugh. Genuine amusement, like I had said something funny. I felt tears starting. I tried so hard to hold them back, but I could not. Seeing me cry seemed to make her laugh harder. I asked her to please stop, my voice breaking. I begged her to just explain what was happening. And that is when she said the words I will never forget. You never deserved a gift anyway. At least she knows how to keep a man happy. Something inside me shattered completely in that moment. This was not just about her taking a trip with my sister. This was not just about lying or stealing my money. This was about contempt. Pure, cruel contempt for me. She was not apologetic. She was not guilty. She was mocking me while I cried. I sat there, tears streaming down my face, and asked what she meant. Was she having an affair with Laura? Marissa said it was not an affair, just a connection, an understanding I could never provide. Laura appreciated her in ways I never did. Laura made her feel desired, exciting, alive. I was boring, predictable, safe. Everything she apparently resented about our marriage. Then she told me that taking my birthday money was intentional. It was a statement, she said, showing me how little I mattered to her. Every word was calculated to wound me as deeply as possible. I sat there, absorbing blow after blow, feeling like everything I knew about my life was crumbling around me. Our marriage, my relationship with my sister, my sense of self-worth, all of it disintegrating while Marissa smirked at my pain. She stood up abruptly and said she was going to bed. She told me to stop being pathetic because my crying was unattractive. Then she walked away, leaving me sobbing on the couch. I sat there for hours, unable to move, unable to process what had just happened. Around 2 a.m., I finally dragged myself to the guest bedroom. I could not sleep in our bed. I laid awake replaying the conversation over and over. Her laugh, her words, the look on her face when she saw me cry. I felt humiliated, destroyed. I did not know how anyone came back from something like this. Thursday morning, Marissa acted like nothing had happened. She made her coffee, got ready for work, went through her normal routine. I was exhausted, my eyes swollen from crying all night. She glanced at me with disgust and made a comment about pulling myself together. I said nothing. I literally could not find words. She left for work without saying goodbye. I called in sick. There was no way I could face anyone. I spent the day in a fog, numb, scrolling through my phone looking at old photos. Pictures from our wedding, our honeymoon in Hawaii, holidays with Laura. Everything felt like a lie now. Laura had not contacted me since before my birthday. I realized she was avoiding me because she knew I would eventually find out. I thought about calling her, confronting her too. But what would I say? What could possibly make this better? My phone rang multiple times throughout the day. My parents. Friends checking in. I ignored everything. Marissa came home late Thursday night. She smelled like wine and expensive perfume. I was sitting in the dark living room and she did not even acknowledge me. She went straight upstairs and I heard the shower running for a long time. Friday morning was the same pattern. She ignored me completely. But something shifted in me that morning. I made a decision. I would not beg her. I would not plead for explanations or apologies. I would not give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken anymore. I would stay silent and start planning my exit. I quietly contacted a friend who was a divorce lawyer and asked for recommendations. I started documenting everything. I took screenshots of the photos, downloaded credit card statements, saved text messages. I opened a separate bank account at a different bank and began transferring my portion of our savings. I changed passwords on all my personal accounts. I did all of this while Marissa remained completely oblivious, confident in her control over the situation. Friday evening, she announced she was going out with coworkers. I knew she was probably meeting Laura again. I simply nodded and said nothing. My silence seemed to unnerve her slightly, but she left anyway. I used that time to pack important documents, valuables, and sentimental items into boxes. I stored them in my car trunk where she would not see them. The weekend passed in cold silence between us. Monday morning, I received an email from an anonymous sender. The subject line said, "You need to see this." The body of the email contained a link to a private Instagram account. It belonged to Laura, but it was hidden from family. She had blocked me and my parents from seeing it. Someone, probably a mutual friend who knew the truth, had given me access. I scrolled through posts from the past 3 months, and each one made me feel sicker. There were multiple photos of Marissa and Laura together, intimate poses, romantic captions. Their friend circle clearly knew about the relationship. I saw comments congratulating them, calling them a cute couple supporting their love. Everyone knew except me. They had made me a complete fool. I found the post from my birthday weekend, multiple photos from the spa resort. The caption from Laura read, "Best weekend with my favorite person, sorry, not sorry." The comments included laughing emojis and people saying things like he still does not know. One comment stood out. "When are you two finally leaving him?" I saw that Marissa had replied. "Soon, just playing the long game." That comment broke something in me, but it also ignited something new. Not just sadness anymore. Clarity, determination, strategic thinking. They thought I was weak and pathetic, someone to use and discard while they built their life together. I would prove them wrong. I spent Monday compiling every piece of evidence I could find, screenshots of Instagram posts, credit card statements, text messages, photos of my missing birthday money, a complete timeline of every lie. I contacted a divorce attorney and scheduled a consultation for Tuesday morning. The attorney confirmed I had a strong case, especially with documented adultery. In our state, infidelity significantly affected asset division and alimony. Marissa made considerably less money than me and had been relying on my income for years. Our joint accounts would be split, but the house was in my name only. I had bought it before we got married. The attorney advised filing quickly before Marissa could hide assets or drain accounts. I agreed and signed the papers Tuesday afternoon. A process server would deliver the divorce papers to Marissa at her workplace on Wednesday. Meanwhile, I prepared my next moves. I contacted my parents and told them everything, showing them all the evidence. My mother cried. My father was furious, but both of them supported me completely. They agreed not to tell Laura yet. Let her find out through Marissa. I drafted a message to our extended family and close friends explaining the situation. I would send it immediately after Marissa received the divorce papers. I contacted the landlord of the apartment Laura rented. I had co-signed her lease 2 years ago when she was between jobs. I gave 30 days notice that I would be removing myself as guarantor. Without my financial backing, Laura could not afford that place alone. I changed beneficiaries on all my insurance policies and retirement accounts, removing Marissa from everything. I scheduled movers for Friday to remove my belongings from the house. I found a temporary apartment, paid the first month, and got the keys. Everything was ready. Tuesday night, Marissa came home late again, but this time I was calm, collected. I even smiled at her when she walked in. She looked suspicious and asked why I was in such a good mood. I shrugged and said I was feeling better, accepting reality. She seemed satisfied with that answer and went to take a shower. I sat there knowing that in less than 24 hours everything would explode. Wednesday afternoon around 2 p.m., I received a text from the process server. Papers delivered to Marissa at her workplace, signed and received. I felt satisfaction for the first time in days, a real emotion beyond just pain and numbness. 30 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Marissa calling. I declined the call. She called again immediately. Declined again. Text messages started flooding in. "What is this? Call me now. You cannot be serious." I blocked her number temporarily. She tried calling from her work phone. I blocked that too. An email came through from her. It was threatening, desperate, and angry all at once. She said I was making a huge mistake, overreacting. She could explain everything if I would just listen. I did not respond to anything. At 4 p.m., I sent my prepared message to family and close friends. I explained the situation calmly and factually, attaching some of the evidence. I made it clear that both Marissa and Laura were involved in an ongoing affair. They had betrayed me on my birthday using my own money. I was filing for divorce and would appreciate support and space during this time. Responses came quickly. Shock, anger on my behalf, offers of help and places to stay. Several friends admitted they had suspected something but had no proof and did not know how to tell me. My parents called and reiterated their support, offering to let me stay with them. I declined, saying I needed independence right now, needed to prove to myself I could handle this. That evening, Laura finally called. Her number showed up on my screen, and I almost declined out of habit, but I decided to answer. She was crying hysterical, begging me to stop the divorce. She said it was all a mistake, they got caught up in something, they never meant to hurt me. I listened silently for about 2 minutes while she rambled through tears and excuses. Then I said quietly, "You do not get to cry to me. You chose this." I hung up and blocked her number too. Thursday morning I woke up to a silent phone, peaceful for the first time in weeks. Then I remembered I had blocked Marissa and Laura. I unblocked them briefly just to check what I had missed. 15 missed calls overnight, mostly from Marissa between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. The voicemails ranged from angry to pleading to threatening. The first few were her demanding I call her back, saying I was being ridiculous and childish. The middle ones had her crying, saying she made a mistake, she loved me, we could work this out if I would just talk to her. The last ones were cold and threatening. She said she would take everything in the divorce, make my life hell, ruin my reputation. There was one voicemail from Laura around 4 a.m. Her speech was slurred. She was clearly drunk. She rambled about how she never meant for any of this to happen. She was confused, she needed guidance from someone older. Then she switched tactics and started blaming Marissa for seducing her, manipulating her feelings. In the next breath, she blamed me for not being enough for driving Marissa away. I listened to each voicemail without emotion. Then I deleted them all and blocked both numbers again. My attorney texted that morning. Marissa's lawyer had already contacted them. She wanted to negotiate. I replied immediately. No negotiations. Proceed with filing as planned. I felt control returning to me, felt like I was reclaiming my own narrative. I was not acting from pain anymore. I was acting from clarity and self-respect. Friday, the movers arrived right on schedule. They removed my furniture, my belongings, everything that was mine from that house. I left it mostly empty. Marissa would have to deal with that. She tried to come home early from work, but I had the locks changed that morning. She arrived to find her key did not work and a moving truck parked outside. She started screaming from the driveway. Neighbors came out to watch. I walked out calmly, carrying an envelope. I handed it to her without a word. Inside was a copy of the divorce papers, a detailed list of everything I had removed from the house, and a notice that the house was legally mine. She had 30 days to vacate per my attorney's instructions. Her face went through every emotion possible: disbelief, rage, panic. She tried to grab my arm, but I stepped back. I looked at her calmly and said, "You told me I never deserved a gift. Turns out you never deserved me." Then I walked to my car and drove away while she screamed after me. I moved into my new apartment Friday evening. It was small but clean and fully furnished. I sat on the new couch in my new space and felt lighter than I had in months. I was not happy yet, but I was not destroyed anymore either. The following weeks were difficult but manageable. Divorce proceedings moved quickly because the evidence of adultery was so clear. Marissa tried multiple times to contact me through different numbers and email addresses. I maintained complete no contact. My attorney handled absolutely everything. Laura sent a long email apologizing, explaining, and justifying everything that happened. I read it once, never responded, and deleted it. I cut her completely from my life. I told my parents I needed space from her indefinitely. They understood and supported my decision. My mother told me later that Laura and Marissa's relationship fell apart quickly after everything came out. Without me as their common enemy, they turned on each other. Marissa blamed Laura for ruining her marriage and her financial security. Laura blamed Marissa for manipulating her and destroying her relationship with her family. Both of them lost friend groups who sided with me after the truth came out. Marissa eventually moved back in with her parents in a different state. Laura had to find a much cheaper apartment without my co-signature and financial support. I felt no satisfaction from their suffering, but I felt no sympathy either. They created their own consequences. Over the next several months, I focused on healing. I started therapy to work through the betrayal trauma. My therapist helped me understand that none of it was my fault. Marissa's cruelty revealed who she truly was, not a reflection of my worth as a person or a partner. I began rebuilding my social life, reconnecting with friends I had neglected during my marriage. I took a trip alone, my first real vacation by myself in years. I discovered I actually enjoyed my own company. I started new hobbies, joined a gym, and got into better shape than I had been in years. took cooking classes and learned to make meals I actually enjoyed, picked up photography and started documenting the city I lived in through a new lens. These were all things I had put off during my marriage, always making time for Marissa's interests instead of my own. My 31st birthday came around, and it was completely different from my 30th. My friends threw me a surprise party. I walked into a room full of people who genuinely cared about me and wanted to celebrate with me. No fake work retreats, no stolen money, no lies, just people showing up authentically because they valued me. I realized that was what I deserved all along. The divorce finalized 4 months after I filed. It was a clean break. No alimony for Marissa due to the adultery clause in our state law. She tried fighting it, but the evidence was too overwhelming. I kept the house, my savings, and most importantly, my peace of mind. The day the divorce was officially final, I did not celebrate. I just felt relief. One chapter closed, a new one beginning. Looking back now, I understand what I learned from all of this. Betrayal reveals truth. It is painful, but it is necessary. Marissa showed me exactly who she was when she laughed at my tears. That moment, as devastating as it was at the time, actually freed me from a life with someone who had no real love or respect for me. I learned that silence can be more powerful than words. When I stopped reacting, stopped begging for explanations or apologies, I reclaimed control over my own life. I learned that love should never make you feel smaller. A real partnership builds you up. It does not tear you down and mock you when you are vulnerable. My sister's betrayal taught me that blood does not guarantee loyalty. You have to choose your family carefully. Sometimes the family you find and build for yourself is stronger and more reliable than the family you were born into. Most importantly, I learned that my worth is not determined by how other people treat me. Marissa saying I never deserved a gift was just a projection of her own emptiness and cruelty. The truth is, I deserved everything. Respect, honesty, genuine love and partnership. And now I will never settle for less than that. Some people come into your life to teach you lessons. Marissa and Laura taught me what I will not tolerate, what I will not accept, what I will not compromise on, ever again. They taught me that lesson expensively, but they taught it thoroughly. I am grateful now not for the pain they caused, but for the clarity that pain eventually brought me. Those 15 missed calls that Thursday morning were not her trying to reach me. They were the sound of someone realizing they destroyed the best thing they ever had. I never called back, and I never will. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because they showed you who they really were? Have you ever had to choose yourself even when it hurt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to walk away from people who do not value them. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve respect, honesty, and real love. Take care of yourself and remember that sometimes the hardest decision is the one that sets you free.